You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to the NFL Insight Podcast. Your host tonight in the big seat got a little promotion. The Mavs in the house. It's rare that he is the podcast host, but when he is, good things are going to happen. But joined tonight, DFAB and Secko. DFAB, how you going, mate? Fresh off week one of pre-season.
Well, I want to say first off, I feel like Mull's absence is going to be sorely, it's going to be very, very obvious tonight because when the parents are gone, the children will play. This is going to be absolute chaos tonight. And if anyone watched last season, we know how absolute nonsense this gets when you're in charge, mate. So we know where this is going. Week one of preseason was good fun. I was hand to God, I'm sitting there on the sideline of footy with my iPhone, just trying to watch as much preseason as I could mid-game. It's I feel like I say this every pod, but footy's back, and the closer we're getting to the season, we're getting more layers of football. So I'm stoked, and lots of really good news for fantasy out of the weekend too. So feeling good.
Mate, it was fantastic to see some starters out there actually playing some snaps. I'm sick of seeing the third stringers play from the start and then just keep going all the way through. But it was good to see, refreshing to see some starters out there. Hopefully in week 2 we get some more. Secko, back in the house for another episode. We had the old team reveal last night, mate. How are you going?
Yes. Yeah, good. Copped a bit, got a bit of a few please explain from the people, but but that's how it goes. I'm always happy to. If you've got any questions, let me know. I will obviously defend everything I've done, and then probably change it next week. But but for now, that's my team. But we're back into the fantasy landscape again, which I'm pumped for. It feels like since launch on Thursday, Supercoach has been sort of our primary focus, but I want to get back to sort of what we've done. Supercoach will always be there, but fantasy, a fantasy mock draft, and Monday's come around mock draft time. Pretty pumped with Mull away to see how this stays on course.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We're back to our mock draft Monday. It's a welcome addition to our pre-season schedule. I think it's very important that we do mock drafts every Monday throughout the pre-season and into the regular season, because this is how you practice. This is how you see where people are falling. ADPs have slightly changed over the weekend, not much, but slightly. There's a few guys that we're a bit higher on now and a bit lower on, basing off what we've seen. Obviously, RJ Harvey getting first team reps for mine was one to see that I really enjoyed. It was a bit of he was a bit bouncy as well, so it was good to see him sort of put any sort of conversations to bed early on that he's not the starter. So that was good to see. Unfortunately, we've lost Tajay Spears as well over the preseason week one. He's got a high ankle sprain, out for about 4 to 6 weeks, they're saying. So Tony Pollard will come back into consideration in those midweek and mid rounds, and could be a nice little addition. So we'll see what happens. It's preseason, boys. It's silly season.
It is.
You're not wrong.
But just back onto the Supercoach world, boys, just very quickly, just a bit of housekeeping. We do have our unlimited league right on the screen here. Here's the league code, 57735. Get involved. There is some weekly prizes for the top point scorer. How can you say no to weekly prizes? So all you have to do is top score. Easy enough. So get involved, and we'll go from there pretty much. All right, fellas. Shall we get stuck into our mock draft?
That's the only reason I'm here, dude. That's why I'm here.
All right. Let's get the screen on. DFAB.
Way ahead of you, brother. I got you. Way ahead of you.
Out. All right. So what we're doing tonight is I'm drafting from 2. DFAB is drafting from 3, and Secko is drafting from 10. So a bit of a mixed bag here. We try and sort of put a couple at the front or a couple at the back just to spread things around. This is actually the first time, boys, I'm actually drafting from the front. So not really sure what to expect. In all my drafts so far that I've got in my lotteries, I have got a bottom 3, bottom 4 pick. So it's a fresh of breath air for me to be at the front. Where have you guys been dropping so far in your lotteries. I'll start with you, DFAB. Have you got a mixed bag?
Well, so yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. In my home league, I'm at 6, and this is now the 3rd year in a row that I have drafted at 6. I'm convinced that the draft lotto is rigged. I quite enjoy being at either the front end or the back end of the draft. I think middling just kind of sucks. Whereas with like you can very easily get drawn into ADP because you're looking at only 12 players going between who you've got and then who comes next, and you kind of get caught out. Whereas if you're at the end of either round, you're looking at anywhere from 18 to 20, 23 picks between your selections, and it forces you to go for the guys you want, which, as I said in the last mock draft, that's a big belief of mine. You go for the guys you want, ignore ADP, just chase them. So, yeah, mostly, honestly, most of the middle rounds. I'm really excited to do one at 3 though. I haven't had a chance to really draft so far at the start of the draft, so it's gonna be good fun. What about you, Secko? Where have you been drafting lately, mate?
Yeah. So in my main home league, which is a 12-team keeper league, I just drew 7. That was done last night. So a lot of my mocks, that's a keeper league. So there's up to 36 guys off the board. So I mean, number 7 should still get me a decent enough first round pick there. And then outside of that, another one of my leagues, number 12, which I think I like this year. I think back end is not too bad in a straight redraft
I
league.
agree.
Because you can double tap. And generally
Yeah,
I like 13 players, more or less. Unless something, regardless, if someone drops massively, I'll get a surprise, but I pretty much know who's going to be there at the turn. So getting 2 of them, it's okay to wait another 22 picks for it to pop back around to you because 23, whatever it is, because it's okay because you've got 2 starts. So yeah, but mixed bag. And I haven't mocked from this late in a super draft. I always go early QB, but I feel this one we might start non QB, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, perfect time to sort of practice and see what actually falls to you. I mean, it's always rough going into a draft when you go in blind. So anyway, we'll start up the draft. I'm on the clock here at pick number 1. Josh Allen goes off the board at pick 1. No surprises really there. I'm going to take Lamar Jackson, take the QB early, one of the better QBs in the competition, and then we'll go to DFAB here at 3.
Yeah, Superflex, it's pretty simple. If you're in the top 5, I think you got to go QB. I don't particularly love Jaden Daniels in traditional fantasy this year. I love him in Supercoach. But I don't particularly love him in fantasy, so I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I think he's got a legit chance at being the 101 this year, so I'm chasing him.
Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. It's a pretty safe pick. I think they're going to be a bit better this year as well with their.
I think so too.
Tougher schedule. So they're going to be forced to throw a bit more, and he'll be able to show it more on the ground and through the air. So I think he's got real potential for me probably the number 3 QB going into 2025, probably behind Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, but again, has real possibility of finishing as the number 1 as well. So not a bad pick there at all. After that, we just got the AIs in tonight, but we got Jaden Daniels at 4, Bijan at 5, Justin Jefferson at 6, Jamar Chase at 7. Obviously, that's not going to be the case when you've got 12 users in. Joe Burrow there at 8. And Jahmyr Gibbs off the board there at the 109. And now we've got Secko here on the board for his pick.
Yeah, so look, those 4 quarterbacks are almost always gone in the first 9 picks. So, and then Burrow may fall. So, look, my approach was coming in. If Burrow fell to my spot at 10, I was going to take Burrow. If he didn't, it's almost a punt quarterback decision for me for the next 2 picks because I don't think anyone's worthy of pick 15, even though it is super flex. But, obviously you need to start 2. I could get 2 guys in the 3rd and the 4th, I think. But we'll see. Obviously the AI might poach. I'm going to go CD Lamb though. Nice. I think he's potential wide receiver 1 on the season, and hopefully CMC's back to me. He is. Next pick, CMC, who I think also is the RB1 this year. So easy double tap for me there. If you're not going to start with a quarterback, and Mahomes definitely wasn't going to be in the reckoning for me anywhere near those picks. I think I've got 2 guys who I would take in the top 12. So happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
very
And for
good.
the guys listening on audio, we had Saquon Barkley at 111, Malik Neighbours go at 112, Ashton Genty at the 201, Bowers at the 202, and Secko took obviously McCaffrey at the 203, Amon-Ra at 204, Puka at 205, Trey McBride 206, Nico Collins there at 207, Mahomes there at 208, Derek Henry in 209, and we got DFAB on the clock here at 210.
For sure. So with this pick, I think it's very, very important to know what your strategy is. So for me, I've got my hero QB. There's so many skill position guys, and in my opinion, so many later QBs that you can rely on that are going to push that top 12 that I want to try to stack with as many. I want to load in as many top like ceiling guys as I can. I want to be picking guys here that I think can push for the top in their position. And for me, the real clear player in that category for me is Devon Achane. I think with his receiving upside, with how porous their defense is, and how impactful he is out of the backfield, his game breaking ability, I think Devon Achane can be a proper league winner this year. So if I'm starting there with Hurts with his rushing upside and then Devon Achane, I think that's a winning combo to start.
And we're talking about guys that can do it on the ground and through the air too, right?
Yeah.
He can do both. Look, does his game hinge on a healthy Tua? Probably.
Probably a little bit, yeah.
Probably 65-35. 65-35, give or take. My maths there was pretty poor. I was actually considering, I was thinking I got that wrong, but 65-35 there, probably healthy Tua versus non-healthy Tua. So, look, great pick. Should be a top 5 RB if Tua is healthy. I love the pick. That was actually the pick I was going to pick. So, you stole and sniped
Win.
my pick, which is always the case when DFAB's around. He always is a bit of a sniper. Anyway, at the I'm at the 212. Oh, sorry, the 211 here on the board. Look, running back here, there's probably about 5 options here that I actually don't mind. So Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall. I don't really mind. So I don't think I'm going to take them at this pick. So I'll just get the remainder of what comes back in the other way around. I'm guaranteed, obviously, one of those 5 players that I just mentioned. So it's obviously very firm and very important to think that. When I look at wide receivers, it does thin down a lot, for my opinion, with tiers. So you got Brian Thomas there, you've got Drake London there, you've got AJ Brown there, and then I think there's a bit of a tier break. Then you've got McConkey, Marvin Harrison, etc., etc., etc. So look, I'm a bit nervous about Brian Thomas, to be honest with you. The offense isn't really too exciting for mine with Trevor Lawrence under center that I can get around and say that, Brian Thomas is the alpha dog. You still got Travis Hunter in the house there, the new wide receiver. So we're not too sure who the alpha number 1 is. Look, it probably is Brian Thomas, but I'm not certain 100%. I know Drake London is, though. I know Drake London is the man of the building of that place. Yes, he's got Penix there, who's a bit unproven and still obviously trying to make a name for himself. But Drake London's target share should be astronomical this year. It should be 30% plus. It's Bijan and Drake London, and that's the offense.
Kyle Pitts, dude.
No.
Every show, DFAB. Come on, man. Every show.
I actually love Kyle Pitts. I really do. I really love Kyle Pitts.
To bring him up.
I get paid per Kyle Pitts mention.
Boys, I'm going to have to roll with Drake London at that pick. We've back on the board there at 302. So Bo Nix went off the board at 212 and to Brian Thomas there at 301. So I'm not too upset that Brian Thomas is gone. I wasn't going to pick him anyway. So that gives me an option there at my RBs, and all of them are still on the board. Look, it's important to keep in mind in a real life draft, in a fantasy draft, RBs, more RBs would be off the board at this point than what it shows at the moment. So, or you'd think so anyway. Every draft's different, but that's my opinion personally. So yes, I've got 2 options here. I've either like Bucky Irving or Jonathan Taylor. Now Bucky Irving is drafted at his absolute ceiling at the moment. At 302, I'm actually a bit okay with that versus at 205, 206, 207, 208, somewhere around there. I think at 302 is actually quite good value. Jonathan Taylor scares me a little bit, obviously, with injury history, everything like that, but obviously a gun when he's healthy. So I will take Bucky Irving. He does give me a bit of everything through the air and on the ground, and he's a touchdown monster. So I'm going to take Bucky Irving here at the 302.
Yeah, nice. Very good. I agree with everything you just said regarding the tier break too. So me looking at my squad already, I know it's still early on, but I know I've got a gun with a super high floor at the quarterback. I got a gun with a super high floor at the running back. And personally, at this point, I'm trying to round out either my running backs. I want to try to have someone that I believe can round out my running back position. They can be set and forgets and worry about everyone else. Or I'm looking for that same caliber of player at wide receiver, someone that's got a super, super high floor and a really, really high ceiling. So for me, looking at this, I'm really considering either AJ Brown or Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is in that higher tier. Personally, I've got him above Bucky Irving. I really like Josh Jacobs this year, and I think he's a steal at this point. So I'm taking Josh Jacobs, and I'm just rounding out my my running backs through the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's safe. You take those 2 running backs. They're sort of set and forget. Josh Jacobs coming off that monster year in his first year in Green Bay, and you honestly don't expect it to be any different, obviously, barring injury. AJ Brown, I was surprised that you let go, to be honest. I know you got the stack there.
I love AJ Brown. I was really tempted by the stack.
Well, AJ Brown in previous drafts has been going at start of the second, mid to start of the second round in previous drafts. He has fallen a bit this year, and that's probably due to Philadelphia being so dominant throughout the last 12 months. Is probably the reason why he's falling. And if much happens to be the same, they still keep dominating. Then AJ Brown probably falls in stocks again, and take on pump.
In all honesty, the biggest thing, I didn't mention it at the time, but the biggest thing that would, if this was a live draft, the biggest thing that stops me taking AJ Brown is the Landon Dickerson injury today. So he's a 3-time Pro Bowl guard on the Eagles line. That, to me, gives just that little bit of a worry. It's like, how are they going to respond? Because you can't underestimate the impact of losing a 3-time Pro Bowl blocker from the interior line. Like, Hurts is going to be under more pressure, which I think is going to mean he's going to scramble a lot more, which is why I'm more bullish on him being the number 1 QB this year. So I love AJ Brown as a talent, but as a tiebreaker, I'm taking Jacobs, where he's got a lot more health around him.
Fair enough. So Jacobs there at the 303, AJ Brown ran off the 304. Lad McConkey at the 305. That's always been an interesting pick at this point. Lad McConkey, obviously, now in the house. Bit of risk there involved, in my opinion, even though I love a bit of Lad myself. Baker Mayfield there at 306. Kyron Williams at 307. So he's dropped a little bit. Breece Hall there at the 308. Pretty much where he's been drafted at the moment. Marvin Harrison there at the 309. And if we saw anything about preseason, that interception that Kyler threw was absolutely horrendous. And just disgraceful. So hopefully he's not the reason why Marvin Harrison can't break out this year. And we're at the 310 there with Secko.
Yes, mate. Look, this spot in the draft, I'm sort of, everyone after me has at least a quarterback, but I only have one, which is frustrating. Because I can't really go the next 2 picks without getting at least one quarterback. Because realistically, the way I see it's important when you go into your real drafts and when you're in mocks as well, is you look at the other teams, who they've got. So obviously all the teams around me in the draft, you can see on the board, they don't have a quarterback either. And then everyone else of the next, another team 7 doesn't have a quarterback. So realistically, it could be 8 quarterbacks go off the board, or even more, before it gets back to me at the 5-10. So I either take one quarterback now, or 2 quarterbacks my next 2 picks, or I take one and then have to rely on getting value later. Having said all that, Jonathan Taylor's my 7th running back in this format on my rankings. He slipped way too far to get to pick 34, in my opinion. I have him in my top 24 players in Superflex as well. He's just, especially with Daniel Jones, I think locked up with the broken pinky finger. I think he's going to get all the look. He's going to be the guy, and it's going to be like Saquon was in New York with Daniel Jones. Didn't make him shine to what Jalen Hurts did, and Nick Sirianni did, and their offensive line did, most importantly. But yeah, he's just going to be the main man again in Indy. So my pick is Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and look, again, drafting with AIs, you'd probably expect, the skew of that draft picks at the moment. No one took a QB at all in those next few
I
picks.
know.
So
What are the chances?
the chance of that happening in a real draft
But
is slim to none.
And I mean, I saw the rankings, like I saw what was coming, and that's the problem with this. You can see, you can game it a little bit, but I want to do a real view of what you have to give up in order to get a player. If I was drafting against two guys I knew at pick 11 and 12, and I thought there was a chance they might both double up on quarterback there, I probably would have taken my next quarterback, which is, funnily you said it, I'm not picking him for his arm. I'm picking him for his legs. It's Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler has said very openly he's going to run a lot more. In a super flex format to get him in the fourth, I think that's a massive value for me personally. The other quarterbacks there, I'm not in love with. I know Justin Herbert's got Keenan Allen in. I just think there's going to be a rushing offense. Brock Purdy I don't love. A few others further down I do, but I think I might be able to get him still. Like Drake May, Prescott, Love, Fields. One or two of them a chance, but thought I'd just have to take one there, and it's Kyler Murray.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Don't mind it personally. I don't mind Kyler Murray's running ability. It's always been his passing ability at this point in time. It's always been a bit of concern, but you would expect him to take a step forward in his career, and you'd hope so anyway, being, he's 28 years old now, so hopefully it's now or never really, isn't it, I suppose?
We've been saying that for 3 years, though. That's the only worry with Kyler.
Yeah, but he does have some big games. He does have some big games, though,
and that's why he's a match winner. I mean, I've owned him before. I know the roller coaster. He can come out and really and unfortunately shit the bed, but he wins games off his own, not his own arm. Usually, he's usually running into and having 180 to 100 yards. That's what you want for fantasy. That's the prototype guy. So I prefer him being a pad thrower at the moment because it means he'll run more, and he wants to do that. I mean, Justin Fields has been very relevant for many years, and he can't throw a football to save his life. So we all know what that's like. And Lamar was rubbish at throwing the ball until 2 years ago. He still won an MVP without throwing the ball well. So, anyway.
We all thought the same thing about Jalen Hurts at one point too. So
exactly right. Right.
He was in that same conversation at one point in his career. But the only problem is these guys are younger than where Kyler Murray's at. So that's probably the only other thing. But anyway, let's go back to your pick at there. 3-10, Jonathan Taylor went off the board. 3-11, T. Higgins went off the board. 3-12, Smith and Jigba went off the board. 4-01, Kittle. 4-2, Chase Brown. 4-3, Secko was on the back of the board at Kyler Murray. Garrett Wilson at 4-4, extreme value there, I reckon, in my opinion. Tyreek Hill there at 4-5, Caleb Williams there at 4-6, Amarian Hampton there at 4-7, James Cook there at 4-8, Rashee Rice there at 4-9, and DFAB back on the clock at 4-10.
Yes, sir. Now, just to very quickly highlight some comments in the chat. Dom, I give fantastic fantasy advice. My betting tips are horrific, so you're 100% right. On the AFL, they're bad, but stay tuned to all socials because some NFL betting stuff is coming in the next couple of weeks. And not to brag, but I'm up big over the last couple of years. So make sure you tail because we're going to be going good.
It sounds like a brag, just quietly.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very humble brag. My bank account's very happy that I've been betting on NFL the last couple of years. With the mock, it feels like a pretty clear split. So just looking at the ADPQ here, Herbert, I'm a little bit more curious about. I'm not curious enough to pull the trigger on him. There's some reports about him wanting to, the discussions about him rushing more this year and that he didn't last year because he was nursing injuries and stuff. So I think there might be some hidden upside with Justin Herbert. McLaren, he's off my board for the moment. Sam Laporta, kind of off my board. Honestly, most of Detroit is getting close to off my board outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, just with the Ben Johnson departure. I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. Kamara's off my board with the absolute shitstorm that you've got at QB there. So realistically, I'm going to look at a QB here. And Mav might hate me for it, but Drake May is so clearly over and above your Brock Purdy's, your Jared Goff's, your Justin Herbert's. So for me, it's a really easy slam on Drake May.
And you saw it on the weekend, right? First preseason game. the rushing touchdown that he had, he's read the defense really well and just split them and was untouched when he went in the end zone. That's the ability that he has. He's obviously got a really good arm. We know that already. Yes, he needs some weapons and some receivers to go with him, which I think he will have more of a chance this year than ever. Only being second year, of course, but you know what I'm talking about. And then obviously the rushing upside is just incredible, right?
Yeah,
it's just that's why we play fantasy football for QBs is the rushing upside. I mean, Herbert, as you said, I love Herbert coming into the year as well. I think he's going to probably progress in his career, but there is no rushing upside there with Herbert. I know you said that you teased it, but I'm not really too confident that's going to be 100% the case.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm back on the board here at 411. Tough pick, to be honest with you, mate. There's a few options here that I really do like.
It's a bit of a dead zone, isn't it?
Yeah, you mentioned Alvin Kamara. I do think he'll have a heavy workload, so I'll try and get him on the way back. It's not really a big necessity at this point for my team. I'm probably more looking at a wide receiver, to be honest with you. So we take out Terry McLaurin because, again, he's off my draft board for the meantime as well. If I get him in the 7th, 8th round, I'll pull the trigger, but until then, not interested. Mike Evans is always so reliable, isn't he? He's so reliable. When's the drop-off happening? Is it this year? I say that every year about him. So I'm going to let him go just in case that might be this year. It has to be at some point. But there was one guy over the weekend. There was one guy that I was super impressed with. And I tweeted him on my Twitter earlier in the week. It will be Ted McMillan I'll be taking at this pick. He looks like going to be a monster at Carolina. He's going to have a high target share. He's going to have, he's got that connection with Bryce Young already. He's 6'5", man. And he moves like fucking, I don't know, Jamar Chase. He's so quick on his feet for his size.
He just glides around as well.
That's a bold comp.
But he's got some smooth routes. He really does. So I'm taking him here at the 411, and I expect him to have a really big year. 412, Sam the Porter, Kenny Walker there at 501. So the guy that I was looking on the way back is still available. It actually isn't Alvin Kamara. Now that I look properly. There's one other guy over the weekend that had a monster.
This is who I thought was coming first.
Monster play. And it was to start the game too, might I add. He looks like he's going to be heavily involved in the offense. Obviously, Ramondre's in the house still, but I do not give a rat's ass. This guy can do it all on the ground, through the air. His receiving ability is actually what impresses me the most. I'm going to take Travion Henderson here at this pick, and he's just skying up my draft board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely fair enough. And watching Travion reminds me of those first couple of games of Devon Achane in his rookie year.
Yeah,
like he kind of captures your imagination a little bit with how crazy his game breaking ability is. He's got he's electric, and I know that word gets used a lot, but he's genuinely electric. He's so much fun to watch, and he kind of makes the Pats must watch between Drake May, between the what if of Kyle Williams. Is there going to be a resurgence of Stephon Diggs, and now knowing that Travion Henderson's going to have that opportunity to blow plays up and
play in the slot
go
too.
to the house? He's fun.
Yeah, agreed. DFAB back on the clock here.
Yes.
At 5:03 moment.
Yep, this is easy for me. So as I kind of mentioned, we've got my hero IB. I've got 2 running backs. That's my running back room locked in. I've now got my QBs locked in, 2 guys that I can set and forget. So now obviously there's a glaring weakness or a glaring hole at wide receiver. Anyone that's watched this pod since day one knows that I've been pounding the table for Devontae Adams. That changes in no way, shape, or form, and I'm more than happy for him to be my hero wide receiver. That being said, it's a mock, and I want to try something different, and I have him everywhere. So I'm going to take a wide receiver that I really, really love at the moment. Bit of talk about him getting some work through the backfield, and if there's anything we know about Ben Johnson, my brain has
You're
just
right,
gone
Ben
cooked.
Johnson's right.
No,
Ben Johnson's right.
There you go. I had to second guess it for a second. If there's anything we know about
Yeah.
Ben Johnson is that when he finds his guys, he finds ways to put the ball in their hands, and I believe that is going to be DJ Moore this year. So I'm taking him, and I'm trying to get him everywhere just quietly. So he's going to be my wide receiver 1, and I'm watching DJ Moore skyrocket to the moon.
DJ Moore scares me, man. He scares
Does
me.
he really? Oh, I love him so much. If you can find someone in your leagues that doesn't like DJ Moore by the dip, I think he's going to be an absolute shocker this year.
Yeah.
He's going to be.
And,
No one expects him to go
terrifies the
sky
hell out of
high.
me.
Really? Oh, I love
Terrifies
him.
the hell out of me too. No, I just don't think they're going to be very good as an offense. But I've been wrong before.
Oh, as we all have. As we all have, and we will continue to be.
Way too often. Now this is a real pickle because obviously DFAB's love for Devontae Adams. He's not getting back to DFAB at the 6'10", so I can't even leave him and let him swallow that landmine because Jimmy G throwing to Devontae Adams. He won't last 4 weeks in LA, and I'm a Rams fan. I hate to say it, but I don't think Matthew Stafford's playing football at least for a while. So Devon Adams is off my board at the moment until I hear that Matthew Stafford's playing football again. But what I'm left with is a bit of a tough spot because there's nothing I really love, and I don't really want to go quarterback again because the next batch is a massive cluster tier for me. So I'm going to go a little bit different here. I do need some receiver help to pair with Lamb. I'm going to go someone I haven't drafted yet in mocks. I haven't drafted in anywhere. I haven't really thought about doing it. The more I think about it, I think about how this guy's quarterback is definitely on the back nine. He's on about the 18th tee at the moment of his career, but he can stuff it to one guy. So I'm going DK
Nice.
Metcalf. Garrett Wilson copped a whole bunch of everything from him before Adams came along and didn't really know who to go to, and it was a bit of a diplomacy war. They've literally got one guy, and I'm not worried about Arthur Smith. Aaron Rodgers is the offensive coordinator of that team. He'll decide where he wants to go. That's the one pushback on DK is that Arthur Smith doesn't highlight receivers, and to that I say he's never had an Aaron Rodgers before, so he's just pretty much going to tell him to stick it and just throw it at DK. So I'm very confident that him is a strong wide receiver too in this format.
Interesting, mate. Interesting. I do love some DK Metcalf. I really, really do. But Aaron Rodgers scares the shit out of me as well. His movement in the pocket is just
non-existent.
It's like in slow motion. It's like put it back on normal play. It's just if that offensive line breaks down, he's getting sacked.
Yeah, but he's going to go first read. He's going to literally first read everything. He's not going to have a chance to do progressions. He's not going to want to do progressions. And his first read 40+% of the time is going to be DK Metcalf, probably 50. So, yeah, it's someone I haven't really got onto until right like the last couple of days. I just have this hunch that it works for other receivers for Aaron Rodgers for years. He's been bad for about 3 years more. Since that last MVP year, he's actually been bad for 3 years. So
it worked great for Garrett and for Devontae last year, right? So
yeah.
To be fair,
he wasn't quick last year. Like
to be fair,
pretend that he was.
1 year doesn't count because he didn't play. So I'll count that as horrendous.
He looked good. He looked good on that one play though. Let's go. It's Superflex draft. Again, same principle as when I was in round 4. If I let this slide, a lot of quarterbacks could potentially go, and I could be left with someone the likes of Michael Penix as my RB2. So I have to take the best quarterback that's on my board. Let me just toggle over and find that is Dak Prescott. And so I've got the Prescott Lamb stack. That's a sort of that's a dream result for me. If you can get Dak in the 6 when you draft CD at the 110, they could be a league winning stack.
Yeah, it's got the makings of it. Obviously, being a Cowboys fan myself, look, Dak is a good value pick. He's sort of going in rounds 5 or 6 in Superflex leagues. I've actually been rolling with him in my mock drafts as him being my QB1 and just punting QB and hoping that someone like Kyler Murray falls or Dak falls. Mate, CJ Stroud, also not a bad little option around that pick. I think he should improve based off his horrid year last year. You got Brock Purdy that went the pick before yours at Dak, who is always pretty much a half decent option as well. So looking to get paid big coins. So he'll have something to prove this year as well. So look, solid pick. After that, CJ Stroud went the 604, RJ Harvey, Devonta Smith, Jordan Love, also another guy that I'm fairly high on this year. I don't mind his play going into this 2025 season. James Conner, David Montgomery, and DFAB back on the clock.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So looking at the ADP queue is a lot of meh, I think, at first glance. So I'm sorted with my QBs and running backs. I'm very happy with my starters there. Obviously, I've got that second wide receiver spot and the onesie position at tight end that I need to address. So my approach here is I'm only really looking at wide receivers and tight ends. So best available, we know that there's nothing super crazy that's so good to pass up. Quinshon Judkins, who fucking knows what's happening with him this year. Xavier Worthy, I'm a little bit higher on him than Mav is, judging by the last chat we had about Xavier Worthy, but he's not so good that he can't be passed up. So I'm looking at wide receivers and tight ends. If I look at tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, I don't have faith with him. With JJ McCarthy, he might be good, but I'm not particularly sure. Travis Kelce, he needs to just quit and go on tour with Swifty. Tyler Warren, again, rookie. We've had some really good rookies in the past. I'm still tentative to trust a rookie. So I'm gonna stick with a wide receiver and just shore up my wide receiver room. And I think this person is like one of the steals of the draft at the moment in all formats. Cortland Sutton. All the advanced stats suggest that he is going to be a stud and he's going to push top 12 once again. I think he's a steal. If you can get him in the 5th, you'd be thrilled. But at the back end of the 6th, that's money for jam. Get him if you can. Even if you've already got your 2 wide receivers, get him anyway and look at moving him because he's going to be an absolute stud. And after they've just paid him the bag like they have, it's very clear that he's the number 1 and that him and Bo Nix are going to start creating some magic. So, Cortland Sutton for me, very, very easy pick.
He is the alpha number 1 there at the Broncos. I did see on the weekend that Bo Nix was getting some more receivers involved. Troy Franklin was more involved, and so was Mims Jr., Marvin Mims Jr. But they're more sort of like your players in motion, and they'll start doing these yards after catch sort of stuff. Get him in movement. But Cortland Sutton's obviously the guy who's going to get majority of the red zone looks. He'll be the first glance in the red zone. He'll be first glance pretty much in general. If he's not open, then obviously someone else will be in sights after that. But there is a genuine connection between Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, and he's now got financial security there that he can just worry about football, and hopefully the Broncos can go that next level this year, and Cortland Sutton just keeps on rolling really. I'm back on the clock here at 6:11, and I'm glad DFAB mentioned Xavier Worthy because I look at Zay Flowers, not interested. I look at Jamison Williams, sort of interested, but not really. George Pickens, not too bad, but whatever. Not a bad pick, but CD Lamb's the number 1. Adunze, not sure about Chicago, to be honest. It could be anything. Could be the number 1, could be number 3. Who knows? So we know Xavier Worthy at the moment has got probably no Rashee Rice for the first 6 weeks, let's say, for argument's sake. A running back room who is a bit all over the shop. I'm not sure if it's Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, anyone really. And then you've got a unhealthy Hollywood Brown at this point in time. So it just shows me that it's been a bit of wheels up for Xavier Worthy. Was really, really good at the back end of last year. Was really, really good. So I'm hoping that he's gone past that Andy Reid, I suppose, that trap in the first year where he doesn't like using rookie receivers, and he goes, all right, we got a weapon now, let's use him. So I'm hoping that positive back end of last year is going into a positive start for 2025.
Huge, really could be a huge start to the year and build off that.
At round 6, it's worth the risk. He potentially has got superstar ability. He has the traits of a Tyreek Hill player. We just don't know how good he's been because he hasn't been used enough to be shown that sort of stuff. So Tyreek Hill's probably a bit overs, to be honest, but he could be used in the same format as what Tyreek Hill was used back in his Chiefs days. So we'll soon find out to see what that looks like. And I'm back on the clock here at 7:02. I'm very much similar with DFAB here with the tight ends. Hawkinson, it's a bit of a risk. Kelsey, obviously, injury risk at this point in his career, getting a bit older now, and obviously he's declining in ability. So I'm going to leave tight ends for a little bit. I mean, get David Njoku, Engram, who I like a bit later on anyway. It's fine. So I'm probably going to be looking more at a QB. Shore up my QBs. This is a guy who I haven't really been drafting over the last sort of, I don't know. Well, I actually haven't drafted him once in any mock draft or any draft in general. It's actually Justin Fields, boys.
Yeah, don't mind it.
Now, if I pair him with Lamar Jackson in this team, we have got two running backs that love to put on the ground and run. So you could have weeks where they could score 25 to 30 points each if they score one or two rushing touchdowns. Yes, he needs to improve throughout the year. We're not sure what that's going to look like. But at this point in time, I think it's good value at Justin Fields. So I'm going to take him here at the 7:02 and hope that he can start balling out.
Yeah, to get him that late in a Superflex is insane because if he can somehow put it together and stay on the field, he's got a very easy runway to go top 12. I was really, really low on Justin Fields coming in, and I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. I can see I did. Like that rushing touchdown looked kind of nice. Like I can see how it can pan out. Granted, it's going to take one game where he has like 3 picks and they put up 7 points for the game. That'll make me go, yeah, why the fuck did I ever trust Justin Fields? But you can see it's in the range of possibilities for him to turn out to be a legit top 12 guy. So in the 7th round in a Superflex to get him there is a steal.
And the drop off from from him, the next people on the board, the other quarterbacks, they're just a massive tier below, in my opinion. The next on the projections, McCarthy, Lawrence, Penix, Ward, Young, Tua, they're not even in the same league as Fields, in my opinion. So locking that up was a great call, Mav. Well done.
Yep, correct. And this is an example of where fantasy here is very, very different to Supercoach because we've been gassing up JJ McCarthy and all these guys for however long now, for the last week, and you put them in this scenario and they're not even close to the upside you're getting out of Justin Fields. So really, really important to understand the dichotomy between the two. I'm back on the clock here, and I know we talked about it at the very start. I talked about it at last Mock Draft Mondays. You get the guys you want. This may feel very, very spicy. I'm looking at tight end. I want to lock in my onesie position. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people will think I'm either going to go TJ or Travis Kelce or even Tyler Warren. Everyone knows I'm a Denver homer and Evan Engram is a chance, but no. I'm going to bring up his stats at the back end of last year. Mark Andrews.
Wow.
Oh, no. What's happened here? My screen doesn't like that I've done that at all. We're going to have to go back to 3 while I fix this. But Mark Andrews is my pick. So I can't believe that's happened. That is an absolute stitch up. Here we go. We're back. Mark Andrews is my pick. I have faith that he's healthy now. All the reports are that he is 100% healthy. And I have faith that he's going to regress closer to the the mean of the rest of his career, where he has been, a first 3-4 rounds kind of pick, where he's getting, he's the number one option for for Lamar Jackson, and I think he's getting closer to that this year as opposed to falling off and being Isaiah Likely's tight end spot. I don't think that's the case. I think Mark Andrews is still the guy. So for me, he feels like an absolute steal, and I'm targeting him at the back end of all my drafts.
Yeah, it's a great call. I mean, Likely's out. Likely's likely out for the start of the season. It just gives Andrews a bit more runway to have a look. It's I think it's dangerous. That's just my opinion.
It's definitely dangerous.
I was on board for last year, and he didn't last long enough in my team to reap the rewards at the back end because he was hopeless. And I'm a tight end streak guy anyway, so he was the late pick. Yeah, last year even he might have been a keeper pick in that league. But yeah, if he's back to full, how he was, he's a touchdown machine. He's probably the number one touchdown receiver for Lamar. So yeah, you can get it's 10 to 12 touchdowns is his ceiling. It's very gettable. Great call.
100%. And the good thing is just very quickly to add on that before you go into your next pick there, Secko. The good thing is about a Mark Andrews and stuff like that, tight end being the dog's breakfast that it is that worst case scenario, it doesn't pan out. You've got all the other tight ends you would have chosen from off the waiver wire anyway. You're going to choose from your Colson Lovelands or your Dalton Kincaids or your Kyle Pittses or whoever it is off the waiver wire anyway. So take your shot. Worst case scenario, you're drafting to win, not to play safe. So if you see the upside, go crack in, and then if it doesn't work out, cut your losses and find someone new to put all your eggs in their basket.
Kyle Pitts is allergic to fantasy points. I cannot believe.
I love Kyle Pitts. $2.50 for every Kyle Pitts mention. I love them.
I cannot believe he still gets mentioned on this podcast. I can't. I just.
It's going to keep happening.
I'll promise you this. I'll never bring him up in a positive light. So don't worry. It's only going to come from one place. You'll be fine.
It's all right. I'm more than positive enough, Secko. Don't worry, mate.
unless Drake London Touchwood goes down. And he's literally the last guy left, and then it'll still be Ray McLeod before it's ever Kyle Pitts. That's how far down he is. He's behind Ray. All right, let's go next pick. Similar to DFAB going to that 7th round pick. My tight end spot is still up for grabs, still there. And there is a guy who, if you watched last night's episode of my first team reveal, you would have seen that Travis Kelce was in my tight end 2 spot. Another highlighted example of how Supercoach and fantasy are 2 very, very different games. Kelce is a 6-week maximum play, and that's why he appeals in Supercoach is you'll make some money and I can get into someone good. In a fantasy league, I don't want to go into a league picking a guy who by week 7 is going to be back to 3 catches for 20 yards. So he's definitely a pass for me. I'll probably wait till later on to get a tight end because there is a cluster again. And even a guy like Colson Loveland is way down the board. So I've only got 2 wide receivers. I like to get my bench spots. If it was a flex league, obviously I would have gone earlier probably to get another receiver, but I like to have a good bench spot. This guy was pretty good. I can't go George Pickens. I'd love to go George Pickens, but I've got CeeDee Lamb and I've got Dak. It's a little bit too much. That's more
Triple
Cowboys
stack.
than even Jerry Jones would. Even Jerry Jones wouldn't draft that team. And look, there's guys there I like, but there's a guy I like a lot who's quite controversial. I think there's a chance he might become the number 1 wide receiver on his team, which is a big call because his teammate is a consensus top 8 receiver. It is Jameson Williams. Now, everyone might laugh at me for that. I'm really concerned about the play calling that's going to be coming out of this place. And I'm also concerned about them having to change it up a lot from what they've been doing in the past because the Ben Johnson play and DFAB with DJ Moore, when he finds a guy, he makes things work for them. Amon-Ra is an amazing player, but he's also a massive product of his offensive coordinator's belief in him. I think this guy was drafted a top 10 pick. He had an ACL, came off an ACL, got injured again. He got robbed out for betting. He had a great back half of the year when he had his first full run at it. This is his first actual full year to go ape shit. I reckon he's a top 12 receiver.
And you know what, Secko, just to cut you off before you jump in there, Mav, anyone that's in our WhatsApp, we've got a general chat there where it's just constant NFL chat day in, day out. Highly recommend you follow all our socials and get in the WhatsApp. Earlier today, we had a discussion from one of our members talking about a trade, DK Metcalf and Jamison Williams for McConkey, and got a very quick no from me. And now this explains why you were so high on maybe taking the other side, because if you're that high on Jamison Williams, and you know what, the way you've sold it, there's definitely a lane for that to be the case. That becomes an absolute steal if you're able to get that kind of return for someone like a Lad McConkey, where there is some question marks with Keenan Allen coming in.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I've in this draft alone, I've drafted without even thinking about that. I've drafted Metcalf and Williams.
I think we know what side you are then.
I have them both above McConkey for this year. That was a dynasty question, so it still does tip towards McConkey because I think DK's got 2 years of real top tier left. Jameson's probably got 2 or 3 as well. McConkey's got probably 5 or 6, so it does still lean McConkey in a dynasty setting. But for redraft, I have both of those guys above McConkey in my rankings, which will be coming out soon.
Joel, if you're watching, there's your answer.
That is spicy. That one's spicy. Both of those guys above McConkey.
As I said, still try and milk a pick upgrade from the guy because McConkey is considered a top 10. He's definitely a top 10 dynasty.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's considered a top 6 receiver in dynasty. He'll be great next year. You know, again, I think this year's just not going to work out like people think. In my opinion, he's outside my top 20. Anyway.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
I don't go vanilla with my rankings. So
that is spicy. That is spicy. But you're back on the clock again, Secko, with your next pick. There's actually a few good options still left on the board, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'd love to go running back, get my third guy in there. And look, to be honest, it's very, very thin, very quick. So there's consideration there. Obviously, Tajay Spears being out. Maybe Tony Pollard gets a look in. I'm not big on Aaron Jones, who's the next guy on the board here. Brian Robinson's after that, Etienne, timeshare. So I'm probably going to leave running back and leave it till later. I'm going to take Jalen Waddle. If you saw last night's episode again, you know that I'm massive on Jalen Waddle this year. I think he's the realistic chance to be number 1 for the Dolphins this year. So now I've got a real strong wide receiver core. I can just leave that and look elsewhere for the last 3 picks.
Yeah, one to watch there with Jalen Waddle is he did get injured today, I believe, in the preseason game. Or was he already injured?
I don't think he played. I think he was out. He was, he didn't get injured in the game. They just pulled him out for,
he does have an undisclosed injury at the moment. It's very minor, is what they're saying, but
he won't miss time. It's still 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, just one to monitor though.
Yep, absolutely.
But look, Jalen Waddle's always been, year 1 he was fantastic, right? He was coming into dynasty and he was probably slipping to the second round, late first, early second rounders in that situation. And dominated his first 2 years. Absolutely dominated. Ever since that, been the complete opposite of injuries, obviously to QB and to himself. Hasn't been in his favour. But again, we're talking about a real bounce back candidate for a top 15 player in his position, and he's got every chance to do so. He really does. Just need to stay healthy and just play every game possible, really. Not a bad pick there at the 803. Kelsey went there at the 804, so finally he's gone with Swifty, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Warren, Jerry Jeudy, Tony Pollard, and we have DFAB back on the clock.
Yes, sir. So just to speak to my thinking here, so looking at my squad here, you can see that my starters are sorted. So I'm very, very happy with how my starters sit. I've got what I believe is a really high floor. At each position, I've got what I believe is a number 1 target in pretty much 3 separate offenses in the receiving room, and I've got 2 guys that are going to get a really solid workload in the running back room. So this is where I can go at best available. Now, I'm a big believer in holding 3 QBs in Superflex. I don't think that's something that you can really afford to not do. Injuries happen. Obviously, we know buys happen, and you don't want that to be an immediate just like scheduled loss. You want to make sure you can manage it. So typically, I would be pushing towards a QB here, and there's a few QBs here that I actually really like. I know that Michael Penix was brought up before as as kind of a poo-poo pick. I'm quite bullish on Michael Penix this year, and also Bryce Young. You would see that again in my Instagram. Not to refer back to the socials and plug those all the time. I've kind of talked up those in my rankings previously. That being said, there's a certain player that there is no chance I'm going to risk missing him. I'm going to have to search him. I think he's still there. Emeka Egbuka is the guy I want. And I'm going to look like an idiot if he's gone. He's not. I'm taking him. You can see the little star there. He's on my watch list. I'm taking him everywhere I can. Emeka Egbuka is, I think, an absolute stud. He's going to be a league winner. And to the guys that are watching fantasy content now, this is not a new name, but for a lot of people that aren't, we know that there's a lot of guys that just kind of stroll on into their drafts and follow ADP and stuff like that. He's the kind of dude that you can steal from under, pull the rug out from underneath them and take him in the 8th round when his ADP is the 10th, or take him in the 6th if you have to. He's likely going to be at the very least, the wide receiver 2 from week 1. I don't believe in Mike Evans this year. I think Egbuka is going to be the wide receiver 1 in this offense. And this late in the draft to get someone that's going to be a wide receiver 1 is highway robbery. I am so bullish on Egbuka. He's not someone you can afford to miss out on.
Yeah, nice pick, mate. He's just really a target monster in his college days, and looks like he could be the same in his NFL career. But also, he's so
polished.
Everything. He catches
so polished, man.
Vicinity.
Yeah.
He's been one that especially with the news of Godwin missing at least probably a quarter to half the year, Egbuka should be immediately inserted into the offense. And with tied with Baker Mayfield too, who loves to throw that thing. It's going to be really fun to watch how that offense goes this year. I reckon it's going to be one of the most fun offenses to watch. It was last year, but definitely again this year is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can give you a hot tip for those that. You go, Secko. You go.
No, I was just saying because in this draft, obviously DFAB knows that Mav's got 2 picks ahead of his next one. It may seem like you see 119 on the ranking for Egbuka and go, you probably could have waited a round or 2. But in your drafts, you're going to have real people everywhere. And I guarantee you, to DFAB's point, someone's going to take him in the next, a round or 2 ahead, as DFAB said. So doing that, making sure that Mav couldn't steal him at the 8-11 or 9-2 is draft 101. Paying 4 spots more is totally worth it. So bravo, good pick.
Exactly right. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Mav, you're up. Who you got?
You made a good pick, mate.
Shut your mouth.
There's actually 2 players here that stand out to me like dog's balls. There's I'm going to mention them to you right now because I'm thinking I know I'll definitely get one of them, but 2 of them I'll want to get as well. I think I'll get in the way back. Brian Robinson. If you look at my team at the moment, I've got 2 running backs. I probably need to have help there at running back. Brian Robinson is, look, I'm not in love with Brian Robinson for all purposes aside, but he's their RB1. Eckler's getting old now. He's not really going to be in contention much unless it's 3rd down play. You'd expect Brian Robinson to be in all sort of goal line situations, 1st down attempts, etc., etc. There's really no competition for that role, in my opinion. You got Krosky Merritt there, the rookie running back, who looked pretty good in preseason, but look, he's still probably a while off Brian Robinson. But so this pick, I'm going to pick him just due to the fact that my team needs RB help. Got him, and there you go. My guy got back to me at the 902. It's Ricky Pearsall, boys. He's very high up on my draft board at the moment. all reports are he has been uncoverable in practice. There is like literally no wide receiver in San Fran that is healthy right now. There's no Ayuk, there's no Juwan Jennings. So it's him and George Kittle running the house, and obviously you've got CMC still going to get touches as well. But Ricky Pearsall's a real big breakout candidate. I've spooked at him for the last couple episodes for mock drafts, and I've been targeting where possible. But I truly believe in the 9th round, if you're going to get Ricky Pearsall around this pick, probably we're looking for upside at this pick, right? We're looking at guys who can probably outweigh their ADP or finish in the top 15, 20 and stuff like that. And I think Ricky Pearsall's a real opportunity if he stays healthy. So I'm picking him at the 902.
Love that, mate. The reason I'm looking down at my phone is because I don't trust myself to click a player name to look at stats without it shitting the bed again.
Exactly the same.
I've learnt my lesson. So I mentioned before my last pick. So I'm a big believer in having 3 QBs. And for me, there's, to use the adage from old Mav here, there's one that sticks out like dog's balls. That was not on my bingo card for hearing that on a Monday night. I want rushing upside for all my QBs. I want guys from any position to be in offenses where they need to score. They need to throw the ball. They need to score to try to keep in games, because at the end of the day, NFL is all about winning games. They don't give a shit about fantasy. They want to win games. And we want people in those positive game scripts where they need to throw from behind to try to win games. We talked a lot about Ted McMillan giveaway. I'm picking Bryce Young. The man's got touchdown. The man's got touchdown upside on his legs. He had 4 touchdowns last year. Perfect example to compare to Tyrone Tracy. He had 4 touchdowns on the ground last year, and he was RB26 by the end of it all in half PPR. If you can get that kind of production on the ground in terms of touchdown upside from your QB, plus being an offense where you've basically got a basketball team around you with these blokes that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", with a defense that's so porous that's going to force you to have to throw, I think Bryce Young's ceiling is sky high this year. I'd be happy with him as my QB2 in this offense. If I didn't get Drake May, he's the guy I'm targeting. But if he's my guy off the bench, I'm riding the hot hand and I'm playing QBs via matchups. I'm happy to start Bryce Young with confidence this year, and I'm really, really bullish on him.
Yeah, surprising pick, man. Look, I expect Bryce Young to improve and take a step forward in his career. I mean, I've drafted Ted McMillan in this mock draft, so you have to have some sort of confidence in the QB to be able to hit up a wide receiver you've drafted. But at the same time, I mean, look, Bryce Young at the back end of last year after he got benched looked really good when he came back. It was a positive return. It was a positive return, and now he's got a superstar young wide receiver next to him as well. That looks like he could just catch anything in the radius as well. So, not a bad pick there, man. I think if that's, he's only 24 years old still, so he's learnt a lot over the last 6 months for sure, watching tape and going through another preseason. He would have learnt a lot.
Yeah.
So, good pick.
In 4-point touchdown scoring, he was a top 6 QB on the run home following his bye last year. He had 3 top 8 performances, one of them as a QB1 and one of them as a QB2. Granted, he did have a favorable schedule, but right. Bryce Young in the back end of last year, he's still kind of tarred with the stink of how he started his career, and people are underestimating Bryce Young. I'm a huge believer, and I've probably got guys from our home league, Alistair and Adam, in the chat at the moment. I've been really pestering them trying to get Bryce Young. I'm a huge believer in his this year, and I think he's going to pick up where he left off last year.
Yeah, nice. Secko back on the clock here at the 9:10.
Yes. Okay, it would have been Bryce Young if he fell. I don't think he would have fallen anyway by the AI guys, but it's a great pick. My other picks were Cam Ward and Michael Penix, believe it or not. So now it's one of those situations where you're in a draft and you had a pretty good feeling that one of those two would go. Again, AI doesn't make bold choices. They generally go up down the board. But now what's left us is Tua. You can see on the board there, Tua, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith's a few spots down, Sam Darnold. There's really no running upside for any of these quarterbacks, which is key. There's pretty much no running upside for anyone except for Anthony Richardson. So I don't want to pull the trigger on Anthony Richardson though with his broken finger. That might be
Fair shout.
a later thing. If he had got through that game, I probably would have picked him here. So I'm going to pivot to a different position, and I've only got 2 running backs. And I really want to pick someone here, but I don't want to pick. If you click on running back there, everyone watching will see that is like one of the worst lists of running backs. So a little reminder to me to make sure I secure my third a long way before this stage of the draft. Because I'd normally be picking Tajay Spears or even J.K. Dobbins in this spot or the next round. Which I still can do, but I think they're taking a pretty big hit from how I felt about him a week ago. So it's tight end time, and I'm going to go with Colson Loveland. I think the upside on this guy, if Ben Johnson uses him half like he used Sam Laporta in his rookie season, I think Caleb Williams is good enough to get him the ball. So look, let's hope so. We're picking the rookie with upside. I haven't got many rookies in there. I like to leave the draft with a few of them. So he's my guy.
I like it. Great pick.
Back on the clock again, Secko, for your second last pick.
Back on the clock. So now I've sort of got, I need running back help. And this is going to be a deep pool. Pretty much everyone there. I mean, Jordan Mason, I think, has a massive, massive chance to usurp Aaron Jones from his role as the starting running back. So I'm going to go with Jordan Mason, a guy with massive upside. I think at the back end of the season, when it comes time to fill in for my 2 late buy running backs, Mason could very well be the main guy and could be scoring at a sort of top 24 running back clip very easily.
Yeah, love that pick. I got a lot of stock in him in Dynasty too. I think it's going to be 50-50 from day dot, and I'm not a big believer or a believer at all from in Aaron Jones. So I like Jordan Mason. His ceiling's really high. So great pick, especially this late in the draft. Really good pick.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Before I make, sorry, Mav, you go.
I said I couldn't agree more. To be honest, at that pick, it's just value, isn't it? And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Very quickly before I do my pick, just to kind of rattle off the last couple of picks, we had Tour at the 10.04, Juwan Jennings at 10.5, Deebo Samuel, Jaden Reed, Jalen Warren, and Khalil Shakir at the 10.09, bringing up my pick. As I mentioned previously, it's best available at this point. Realistically, if you look at all your draft boards from the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, however long you've done fantasy, you pull a needle out of a haystack to find guys that are meaningful contributors from rounds 10 or 11. So ignore ADP. It doesn't mean shit. Just find your guys that you like. Now, I'm lucky here that a guy that I really, really like is inside this space. And no, it's not Kyle Pitts. I'm happy with Mark Andrews. Excuse me. I'm taking Cooper Kupp. Hey,
there's an ex-Denver guy there.
Honestly,
there's no Broncos though.
Honestly, there's not that many people at the back end of drafts that I'm really avoiding anymore. I know that most drafts it's a real, like, it's a shit show. It feels like a barren desert, and you're honestly just picking up guys that you know you're ready to drop for waivers when week 1 happens and the undrafted guy from the Jets seems to go crazy, right? I don't feel it's like that this year. There's some legitimate contributors that can be found in this back end, and right now I'm taking the gamble on Cooper Kupp. So he's arguably the greatest receiver in terms of fantasy in the modern era of the last 10 years. He's definitely in the conversation. I believe he's a double, possibly a triple, like a double Triple Crown winner. He's a stud. He's broken so many records. I'm taking the gamble on him being the guy out of the slot, still getting some spot at the X receiver in an offense that's going to be required to throw a little bit, knowing how banged up Kenneth Walker gets. I kind of like Cooper Kupp this year, so I'm taking that gamble.
Interesting. I didn't actually think that you'd come in here drafting Cooper Kupp, to be honest.
And to be fair, I didn't either.
But let's see what he can do in a new offense. All right, I'm back here on the clock here at what is it, 10, 11, and tight end is probably a position that I need at the moment. I do not have one. So I've sort of been fading the tight end position ever since probably midway through
Can we just
the
have a look at
draft.
his team? Sorry, Mav. DFAB, can you flick the little down button next to your name there on the roster and show us Mav's team so we can get an idea?
Of course I can, mate. Great shout. I should have done that earlier. Great talk.
All right. All good.
So as you can see there, glaring need is tight end. Again, I haven't really been too worried about that at the moment because there's one guy on the board that it's just been sitting there and simmering away. It's been looking at me in the eyes for rounds upon rounds upon rounds.
There he is.
130. It's not Kyle Pitts. No. Another mention of Kyle Pitts in this show. Ridiculous. No, it's actually going to be Tucker Kraft, boys. I'm going to take him there at my tight end. A 24-year-old tight end that had 2 tight end and 1 finishes last year in 2024. And they were back-to-back weeks, might I add, too. So, there's some concern about Jaden Reed at the moment. He's in a moon boot. We're not sure how long he's going to be out for. Matthew Golden, obviously, a first-round rookie receiver at Green Bay, so he's still unproven to this point as well. And then you've got a bunch of, I suppose, just average wide receivers. And Josh Jacobs. So he's got the connection with Jordan Love. He looks like he's just a monster when he gets the ball in his hand as well. And he gets on the run. Yards after catch is a monster. He just trucks blokes for days and just takes them down. He's got some serious strength and some pace for his size. So and a true red zone threat in this offense too. I think he's probably the number one in the offense in the red zone on his team. So I think there's some ability there for him to be a top 10 tight end. He was number 9, I think, last year. I think it was. Or if it wasn't number 9, I've been close. Number 9, half PPR. So if I'm getting someone of that caliber in the second last round at tight end, let's probably say 15 or so, I think that's good value for a guy who could finish the top 10.
For sure.
That's it.
So Dalton Kincaid went after that. Stephon Diggs there at the 111. I'm back on the clock here. So, look, I've got 4 wide receivers. I sort of like to marry them out to 4 running backs, 4 receivers if possible, depending on who's left on the board. So I will probably target running back here, sorry. I do like Josh Downs there on the board. I think he's got some good value. I do like that pick there. I'll generally take him if I need a receiver. But there is one guy here that I'm going to target, and this is going to be of DFAB's detriment because I think he was thinking exactly the same thing at this pick. But there is some rumors going around that Trey Benson may be splitting carries for the RB1 position in 2025 with James Conner. And that makes me wet, to be honest, if I'm taking him in the 11th round. It generally makes me wet. So I'm going to take him there at at my last pick of the draft, who, look, he's a 23-year-old running back. So we're talking about upside and potential here. If he gets 70% of the carries, if let's say for argument's sake he does, then I'm expecting him to be at least a flex level player in the offense that he's in.
Yeah, good pick. I've had a love affair with Trey Benson since I first saw him in college, let alone what his highlight film looked like when he got to the draft. He's an absolute monster, man. He's so good, and it kind of sucked watching James Conner look still capable in preseason because I don't think it's going to be as heavy a Trey Benson. I was hoping it would be the Trey Benson year. We'd get a couple of weeks of James Conner. You could say, oh, he's old, he lost a step, and then we get what I've wanted for years, which is the Trey Benson run. But he's a stud, and he's definitely worth having. I'm kind of falling inside the same lane with the running back. So looking at my squad, if I just quickly flick back there, I've got my 4 wide receivers. As it stands, I've only got 2 running backs, so I definitely need a running back. Tight end, like I said, we can worry about that on the waiver wire if we need to down the track. And there's some really, really solid guys. You got Charbonnet, who's an absolute stud if Walker goes down. We know what Charbonnet can do. Najee Harris, it's a little bit murky there because Omarion Hampton's the most talented guy, but Najee Harris has this really annoying habit of still being productive without being sensational. He's on the PUP right now wearing sunglasses like he's Will Smith in Men in Black. I don't know what his deal is. Javonte Williams, I can't bring myself to pick him, even though the opportunity's there. As a Denver fan, he was a disease last year, and I don't want to even consider him. For me, it's between two guys here. The first one being Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's going to be way more involved in the offense than the general consensus seems to think. As much as I love Travion Henderson, and I think he's going to be a genuine superstar for fantasy, I don't think it's going to happen immediately. And I think Ramondre Stevenson can be impactful, not just at the start of the season, but throughout the year. But what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm not playing it safe here in the 11th round. I'm shooting for the fences, and I'm going to go Ray Davis. This is a bet on James Cook not getting a contract done, and Ray Davis showed that when he gets a starting job that he can be super, super impactful. So that's a dice roll, hoping that Cook doesn't get his contract and that Ray Davis gets the job, and we run to the hills with him as the RB1 at Buffalo in a really high scoring offense.
And can get some kicking points as well.
That too.
Did you not see him on the weekend? He was taking PATs.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He was legitimately taking PATs on the
sick.
He rifled home an extra point. It was like, it didn't go very high, but it obviously cleared the line.
Can I take it back?
And just dead straight. Dead straight.
I don't want a kicker in my running back spot.
he was a kicker.
Supercoach.
He used to be a kicker in his college days, like early on.
Yeah, no, well, there you go, Supercoach.
You can tell,
put him on your bench.
He had form. Trust me.
Can you get a DPP running back to kicker in Supercoach?
That's good. That's what we want. That's what we want.
All right,
Secko, your final pick, mate.
Kyle Pitts is gone. If you're thinking about Kyle Pitts, he's not available.
I was going to take a second tight end. It was going to be Kyle Pitts. Unfortunately, my heart's breaking in front of me. No. So before hearing the news, we were talking beforehand, and you told me that Tajay Spears actually has a high ankle sprain. We are 4 weeks from round one. I think he obviously the likelihood of him becoming the RB1 in Tennessee is lesser now. And Pollard will have a go. I have owned way too much Pollard over the last 2 seasons to ever want to root for that guy again. So I'm going to strongly root against him and go Tajay Spears, my last pick.
Oh,
now usually I would like to take a second quarterback, but everybody there is waiver wire worthy and no higher. So there's no one worth drafting left there. The board's gone, so I've now got 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers to end it up.
Yeah, nice, good balance.
Awesome. That pretty much sets us off with our draft board. If you just want to hit on my team there, DFAB, and we'll go through their teams individually. I'll start us off. Lamar Jackson, Drake London, Bucky Irving, Ted McMillan, Travion Henderson, Xavier Worthy, Justin Fields, Brian Robinson, Ricky Pearsall, Tucker Kraft, and Trey Benson. As you can see, fairly young roster there. It does make me a bit nervous when I draft a young roster because they're either going to get some superstar ability and some high upside players that go to the next level, or no one goes to that next level at all and you're stuck at the bottom of the ladder. So those sort of rosters do scare me to a degree, especially when you have 2 rookies. Maybe you draft them a year too early and they start, going nuts next year. But all in all, I think that team there on paper could be quite solid. On to you, Dave.
The bones. Yeah, the bones are there in your squad. Mate, I kind of wish that like drafting against AIs, it's like dipping your toes in the pool and counting it as swimming. It just doesn't count. Like I wish it did, because if I could start a league with this roster, I would be fucking thrilled. I've got Jalen Hurts at my QB, Devon Achane and Josh Jacobs rounding out my running back room. Drake May as my QB2, DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton, maybe 2 little smokies, but guys I really, really believe in as my starting wide receivers. Mark Andrews to try to go vintage and kill it this year. Emeka Egbuka, rookie superstar. Bryce Young as a backup 3-headed monster in the quarterback room. Cooper Kupp and Ray Davis. I feel it's really well balanced. Kind of trying to, or relying on finding some beauty when some others maybe don't. Really counting on some brilliance from DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton in some areas that are maybe a little bit murkier than some others. But yeah, overall, I'd be thrilled if this was my team going in.
Nice.
Secko.
Yeah, not a bad team there, mate. Not a bad team.
Yeah, it's a good team.
The Cup
It's a good
will be the
team.
one that's going to dominate on your team, I reckon, and take you to that promised land.
He's open.
Secko.
If we're talking old dudes, I probably would have gone Stefan Diggs personally, but yeah, I'm a disgruntled Rams guy, so my Cooper Cup jersey hanging in there is blue and gold, and not that horrible green that Seattle like to wear. My team: CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Kyler Murray, DK Metcalf at the 5'10", Dak, James Williams, Jalen Waddle, Colson Loveland, who I've never actually picked in a mock before, which I'm pretty excited to have the young tight end, first tight end picked. I would have loved Tyler Warren, but he went almost an entire round earlier. Jordan Mason and Tajay Spears. Now it's not the youngest team. Mavs is quite young. Mine's a bunch of old dudes, really, because 26 is old when you play NFL football for some reason.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. But anyway, my starting lineup obviously is either Kyler or Dak. I'd probably go if I was playing this out, I'd probably start Dak more often, to have the Dak Lamb stack, and that's a big part of why I'm pretty happy with this build, and I'm very solid in the running backs. I think they're two of the top 8 running backs, or potentially two of the top 8 running backs, and then I've got some good depth in the receiving room as well. So very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, not a bad squad there, mate. You're right in the fact that it's a bit older. So a few guys there in that roster that, sort of, 27, 28, back end of their, not back end, but have a few years, a couple of good years left of their careers. Yeah, but all in all, man, it's a pretty solid roster, and it's come out okay. So that's not too bad at all. All right, fellas. I reckon that'll see us out for one night.
100%. I'm going to throw it out there. Everyone that's been watching, jump on the Insight Twitter. We'll put a poll up. I want you guys to vote on who you think has the best team, and whoever has the worst has to buy a 6-pack for the other 2 hosts. So we'll get that rolling and see who the public think has the best team out of the 3 of us.
And no canvassing for votes, all right? It's.
Oh yeah, no. This is Scouts on it, mate. We're doing this properly.
Yeah, shit. That's
let us know.
But on that, just don't vote for Mav, because Mav sucks.
Yeah, well, everyone knows that. But
goes without saying.
All right, well, that'll round us up, boys. Another episode of the Insight NFL show. So appreciate everyone joining in with the comments attached to our video. We'll be back again tomorrow night with some more content. I think we might be going back to the Supercoach space, but we'll watch this space.
Yeah, we will.
With tomorrow's episode. But no, appreciate you boys joining in with another mock draft yet again. It's always good fun, mock draft, boys. We're not far away now.
I love Mondays.
The season starts. So
Mondays are great. Thanks for hosting, Mav. You've been very valiant in the leaders.
Yeah, you know what? Ditch Mull. We don't need him. We got Mav now.
I don't think Mav wants that strong suit, the hosting ability, but I can fill in when required. So it's always
you did well, mate. Well done.
Yeah, stop it. But anyway, boys, that'll do us.
All right,
and we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 for some more NFL content. Cheerio.
See you later, guys. See you tomorrow night.
Bye.